Now, about a week ago, I did a video on Azalea in a Dreadbore world, discussing Azalea with all the new tools that she had picked up in Everfest. And there's a lot of great stuff there and a lot of new toys for us to go out and test. Now, since then, several people had commented either on that video or had reached out through other means asking for advice on Azalea in Blitz format specifically. And now you guys know me, it's pretty rare that I'll turn down a chance to talk about Azalea. And on top of that, I actually prefer playing Azalea in Blitz format. Probably because I believe that at least for now, she's better positioned in Blitz than she is in CC. So today I want to talk the difference in approach for Azalea between the two formats, as well as some other musings I've been having around Ranger cards and everyone's favorite Assassin. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. All right, folks, so we are on about take 5 of me trying to do this without some big truck going through or a plane coming overhead or something like that. So let's go ahead and throw on some metal because Azalea feels very, very metal to me. We'll just have that on in the background, hopefully make it a little more enjoyable of a listening experience for you guys. So anyway, all the extraneous information out of the way. Hello, Flesh and Blood folks, and welcome to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Today I am talking Azalea, and you know what? With all this going on, it's kind of appropriate because tonight is a beer chat. I do not have a script for tonight. I've had a lot of stuff going on this week, and actually I'm working on some casts for this weekend. So I figured, you know what, if I was going to shoot from the hip, I could probably handle it on Azalea, right? So let's sit and talk Blitz strategy, Blitz contents, and kind of, like I said, some other thoughts I've been having. So tonight's cast is sponsored by FabDB, our premier source for deck building, for collection management. You can even do booster drafts over there. Everything you want, everything you need as a Flesh and Blood player available to you to support both your online play. You can export to TTS, to Felt Table, or to just help you do your deck management. You can actually do tournament exports and basically everything you want they've got over there. Go check them out. Again, I know most of you guys are already there because it is so good, but if you haven't, for whatever reason, go check them out. All right, so talking Azalea tonight, right? So kind of the outline for tonight is I really want to talk the differences between CC and Blitz for Azalea and kind of the different approaches there. And then we can talk, how that changes your deck function. It's kind of funny, right? Because if you actually were to put like the two deck lists, like say you took a CC list and you just cut it in third, right? Meaning like everything just got, if it was a 3 of, now it's a 2 of, and so on. If you actually put those lists side by side, they probably don't realistically look all that different, right? There's a couple includes and you change some ratios and stuff like that, but by and large, you're still going to have red in the ledgers, you're still going to have seek and destroys, you're still going to have take aims, you're still going to have take covers, fate for scenes, all that stuff, right? But functionally, I want you to really think about, shocker, right? Playing CC, you have more health, right? But that matters because of the equipment pops, right? Your uses of equipment, you only get one Snapdragon Scalers regardless of which format you're in, right? So your Snapdragon Scalers was going to naturally have more impact in Blitz. Your Bullseye Bracers is going to have more impact in Blitz, right? So that really, I believe, changes the approach of Azalea. Because a lot of times what you're doing in CC, generally, right, is you're trying to stick those on-hit effects, right? It's not that different all in all in overall strategy in terms of what you're trying to do than like Frostbite, right? What you're trying to do when you're delivering Frostbite is to slow them down somehow, mess up their game plan. And functionally, that's really what you're trying to do with Azalea with delivering those on-hit effects, right? So in CC, you're trying to pretty consistently deal damage while slowing them down, hampering, messing up their game plan while you continue to deal that damage, right? That's overall, right? You're not going to win a CC game by shooting a 14 plus, well, you could in theory do the kill shot by doing this, right? But you deliver, like if you're continually setting up for like a 12 dominate arrow, that's not going to win you the game, right? What's going to win you the game is being able to whittle them down on damage and then take that kill shot, right? So now let's apply that to Blitz, okay? So in Blitz, what I generally like to do, my approach for her in Blitz, is that what I like to do is get them down to about, and it's not hard because a lot of people don't block as aggressively in Blitz, but just stick with me, right? So what I like to do is try to get them down into like the mid-teens, right? So you probably only need to stick 1 or 2 arrows. Not that hard to get, 2 damage through, 3 damage through one time. And while I'm doing that, I like to set up my single go wide turn, right? Because you generally get 1 in Blitz. And what you're trying to do here is you're relying very heavily, lately it's been Boltyn shot, right? Sometimes you even start the chain by putting Boltyn shot in with your bracers, right? So +1 with the bracers, they've got the bow sitting there, so they don't want to have it hit with reload and you give the bow. So they have to do all sorts of stuff to try and stop that, or maybe they don't. But the point is, the overarching point is here, what you try to do is set up your go wide turn so that you can get them down to, your goal is to get them down to about mid single digits, right? Meaning like 6 to 8 health, something like that, right? And from there, you can pretty reliably set up your kill shot, right? Now, so that's the general strategy, right? And like I said, Bullseye's Bracer is a big part in that. Endless Arrow carries, Endless Arrow serves a different that's a great example actually to use. So Endless Arrow serves a different function, right? It's a great card. We all know what it does, right? It hits, goes back to your hand. It helps you in CC not fatigue and kind of maintain card advantage. That's its role in CC. In Blitz, you're trying to set up Endless Arrow. In Blitz, Endless Arrow is a great tool for giving you multiple shots out of your hand, right? Because it pops back to your hand and then you can fire it off again, right? So in the example I used with, let's say Boltyn shot, you stick a Boltyn shot, go ahead and throw the Endless Arrow down. Endless Arrow hits, snappies. Well, I mean, snappies is an attack reaction, right? So I get it. But like Endless Arrow, you snappies it, bring it back to your hand. Bullseye has bracers, right? So yeah, I mean, you get it, right? That's the idea there, is to try and stick multiples. Now, in the olden days, and fine. Like I said, it's a beer chat. Cheers. So pre-Everfest, I still used Seek Horizon, right? So remember, Seek Horizon is the card that lets you throw one on top, but it's a 0/4, right? So there was a day I ran red and yellow, but I ended that meta running the 0/4. Now, with Dreadbore and the different cost curve, because I was doing that with Redliner, okay? And I don't necessarily, the reason you're running that with Redliner is because you don't run that with Death Dealer, because what's the point of setting up the top of your deck if you're just going to draw it again, right? Because remember, Death Dealer draws, right? So I'm talking Redliner here, okay? So the idea there was to get that, be able to put something in, draw it, fire it off, right? You guys get it. Okay, but it also served that function. Now I'm almost leaning towards going back to Ravenous Rabble, right? Because remember, Ravenous Rabble, it doesn't stick it will never stick the 0/4. Well, could stick a 0/4, but you can't rely on it doing that, right? But I think I'm going to go back to Ravenous Rabble in my Blitz deck because it gives me a pseudo opt. You can't move it, but you know what's there, right? So I think if you play 2 Rabbles, it can help you determine whether it's time to go, right, on your wide turn. And you do have to know whether it's time to go, because you're going to burn 2 of your pieces of equipment doing it, so you get a one shot. You get one opportunity to do it. I shouldn't say one shot with Azalea, because big hero Azalea, right? Anyway. All right, so with all that said, I have a couple other points I wanted to talk about here in terms of kind of where I'm on the fence currently with my Azalea game plan and what I've been seeing in my testing. So I have to say, the jury is still out on Dreadbore. So I think Dreadbore, see, I called it the right one this time. Long-going joke, because I was calling it Deathcore forever. All right, so Dreadbore, I think, is the right play in CC, because it consistently lets you get those extra buffs on your single-hit arrows. I'm not sure that it is the right play in Blitz, because I think Redliner might still be really right to play in Blitz. I think. So I'm still going back and forth on that, but the reason here is this, right? Dreadbore gives the +1 to the arrow you put in, and it's a face-up arrow, right? So you can't even do your cross-wrap, right? You can't cross-wrap that, so you kind of have to know what's there anyway. And then plus, if you do dominate, you lose your +1, right? So, and it makes it that much harder to pull off. Sure, it is really, really, really good with Boltyn Shot, because it lets you use Boltyn Shot without any other tricks, without having to pop your bracers, right? So that is good. That is good. But you still end up using your bracers in that go wide turn, so I'm not sure that the net difference is actually there to justify the cost curve change and the fact that you lose the +1 on the dominate arrow, right? And granted, with Redliner, for example, you wouldn't get the +1 on the dominate arrow. I get it, but it doesn't cost you 1 then, right? So that's kind of where it's like, I'm not saying Dreadbore's bad. I'm saying that I think the jury is still out on Dreadbore and Blitz. I do think it's the right thing in CC, just from a pure consistency, continuing to keep up the pressure type of thing. That said, headshot for 7 is pretty good. All right, next thought is, I've been, listening to people talk and, reading your guys' comments and interacting with you guys and feedback. And, I do have to ask one thing. It's like, when did everybody suddenly forget about reload, right? And that kind of, I wanted to do this one after Dreadbore, because that's kind of the point, right? What I mentioned about Dreadbore, the +1 interaction with Azalea, like, a lot of times, remember with reload, you can put the card in face down and it doesn't have to be an arrow, right? So it helps you set up your Azalea Dominate, or your reloads help you set up your Azalea Dominate, because it's face down, you can opt-opt, you can do all the things, and you don't have to worry about, necessarily paying for it and doing all the stuff, right? So I think people are undervaluing reload. Now, it's not that I don't think people think reload are bad, but what I'm seeing is that a lot of people are leaning towards some of the new toys in favor of, or leaning towards them eschewing the old reload cards, right? Now, a lot of people, like when they saw, a lot of people responded to the video, they're like, well, you're not using, what's the new one? Release the tension, right? Man, with release the tension, you make sure they can't play any defense reactions. And like, I've never been a combo wombo guy, right? So I tend to go for consistent value, right? And that's not to say that, like, if I have an opportunity to release the tension into Dreadbore, into Remorseless, and you know what I'm saying, right? But like, my overall point here is this. I don't think you should go out of your way to try and set up combos, right? So my point is, if you're looking at a difference between take aim and release the tension, which in many cases you are, because you're going to play Glide Path, you're going to play, the one from the last set with Reload. Why can't I think of this? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. It's a 1 for 4, 3, 2. I'm so sorry. Overflex. Oh my gosh, sorry guys. So, if you're going to play Overflex, you're going to play Seek and Destroy. I suppose Seek and Destroy is the one you could eschew, but with Azalea and the Dominate, like, don't you want to do that? So, you've got your 4 boost cards, talking Blitz here, so your 8 boost cards, pump cards. And, like, you could play more pumps, I guess, but I don't know. It just seems kind of weird to me. Like, I think it's better to try and ping, set up a wide, get them to low health, and then crush. Crush is a Guardian term, but you know what I mean, right? Swing for the fence. I think that's the better way to do it. I get it. Like, if you can set up like it's just not my play style, right? It's just not what makes me write home about, right? I'd rather like maintain consistent pressure than set up like the 5-card 15 arrow Dominate. Like, I mean, I know that that's a thing, but like, if you think about it realistically, how much effort do you have to put in? Like, what do you have to sacrifice on the front end? How much damage have you taken to set up a 15 Dominate? Now, if it wins you the game, it was the right thing to do. 100%. Like, I'm not a crazy person. I get it. But I'm saying what have you sacrificed not only in the turn immediately before, but in the turns above it? And then, how many times, if you've built your deck that way, how many times a night do you get that to work I don't know. Like, again, I'm not anti-release detention. I'm just saying that to eschew release detention in favor of a reload card that can potentially help you get 2 shots off, I think that's a big question mark for me, right? So hopefully you understand what I'm saying there. Like I said, I'm not saying you're wrong at all. Like, it's a great combo. You lock them out of defense reactions if they have them, right? So, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. But anyway, I still think reload is really, really, really important for her to that aspect. So, all right, let's go ahead and talk specific card includes. So I like to run 8. I like to run 8 pump cards. I like to run 2 red aims, 2 seeks. Now 2 red glide paths have taken over, and then I run 2 copies of the yellow overflex, right? Yellow overflex, the reason I run that is because we're so used to having the 0-3, or we're so used to having a 1 for 3, I should say, on the cost curve, that the bonus of the 1 for 4, I feel is worth sacrificing to what the normal math works on to your, to feed your engine, right? I think that that's the fair trade there, right? Because it feels bad to run a 0 for 2, you know what I mean? But running a 1 for 3 doesn't feel bad. I guess that's my logic. Now, 1 for 4 is better, no question about it. But you still got to be able to pay for this stuff, right? And remember, most of the time with Dreadbore, not as much with Redliner, but you're going to have to be able to come up with 2 to fire off your big arrow that costs 1. So you need yellows, you need blues. Okay, I like to run 4 defense reactions. I Fate Foreseen. I don't think that's a surprise. I like Take Cover because it has reload. You could Sync, I suppose, if you're worried. Like, Sync, I suppose you could run Sync instead of the reload, instead of Take Cover, if you were worried about like not getting the right pitches or something. So I'll give you that one. The other boosts are I run 1 Memorial Ground and Blitz, and I run a balance of that. That's balance out is yellow Boltyn Shot, and we'll talk about that in a sec when we go into the arrows. And then I also run the 2 knocks, right? 2 knock the death whistles. Now again, as we talked about, I think before, most of the time you don't use that. It's a lot of time you're using it for your pitch. But it defends 3, and it's a good get out of jail free card for you if for some reason you swing and miss and you get loaded with a, dream hand of +0, 0 threes but no arrow. It does happen. That's what Knock's there for, right? Now going into the trick cards, tech cards, whatever I do, like I said, it's either Seeker Horizon or Rabble. I think now I'm going to run Rabble because I don't think that with the I'm assuming, at least early, I am going to be playing Dreadbore, right? Because I want to test it out and get reps with it. So with the Dreadbore version, and its effect of no reacts from hand, that's pretty strong, right? So I want to do Rabble because it doesn't cost me the card in hand, right? So we're going to do Rabble. We get the free pseudo-opt there. Now, as far as the arrows go, and I'm just doing this off the top of my head, so hopefully I won't miss them. But I'm running running Remorseless. Why would I run only 1 Remorseless? 2 Remorseless. I was thinking about it. So when I do, I write things in paper because I'm still an old man, right? And I always put the cost next to it. So it's 1 Remorseless times 2 R, right, for red. So anyway, Remorseless times 2, Red in the Ledger times 2, Headshot times 2. So now we go into the 0 arrows, which is Boltyn Shot times 3, 2 reds, and 1 yellow. Now, why the yellow? That's kind of weird, Andrew. Well, the reality is that with Dreadbore you get to +1, but it also is 1 more card, one more Boltyn Shot to help you start off your white turn. Okay. We then run Searing. I run 4 copies of Ridge Rider. I love that card. 0 for 4 on the red, 0 for 2 on the blue, but it lets you opt when it goes in face up, which is fantastic. We then have Endless Arrow, and that's it, I think, right? So red, Remorseless, Boltyn times 3, so that's 6. Searing, that's 7. Yeah, I think that's it, right? So, and then you can play around with different arrows. I don't like any of the new arrows. None of the new arrows I like. I'm not super anti them, but like I think that if you're trying to find room, like the ones that have always been on the ball edge for me are in Blitz. The ones that have always been on the ball edge for me are Sleep Dart and Hamstring Shot. Like, I think I'd rather play those than any of the new, like, taking away your opponent's ability to dominate is pretty niche, right? What's that, Timidity Point, right? Something like that. Like, that's pretty niche compared to just like making them pay in general one more or taking away their hero ability. So I think those are more the way to go. So though I think that's it for kind of the random musings I've had, right? I just kind of wanted to mind dump kind of where I've been thinking with Ranger. It is what I'm leaning towards playing this weekend. I haven't quite decided yet. Oh, I know the card I left out because it's new is Rain Razors. Sorry about that. So Rain Razors and Lunging Press. I left out my attack rack. So I am still playing Lunging Press. We will see how a lot of times I was using that for Boltyn as well. Now that we have Rain Razors, we'll see where that fits because Rain Razors is also yellow. So it may end up pushing out. Lunging Press, but I do love the Lunging Press blue trick there. So, and I'm pretty sure it's possible there's an arrow I skipped over, but you guys get the general gist of it, right? For the most part, I run the big hitter ones, then I run zeros, and yeah, we go from there. So I do think it's worth, because remember in Blitz you have a whole bunch of extra slots that don't take away from your deck. I think it's worth still bringing your Redliner to play, because you could arguably, like, if you sit down versus somebody who thinks going to throw Frostbite, probably you just want to go ahead and go Redliner, I think, right? So that's kind of a cool flex option that we have there. So anyway, all of that said, right, the big thing to remember for your Blitz strategy is that, well, the way I like to play Blitz, right? You can do you, right? So hell, setting up an 18 arrow dominate is one hell of a way to close out a game. I will totally give you that. And make it happen, man. But I like to ping, kind of cut at the knee, like go wide, because most of the time they only, because in Blitz you don't have time to not. So unless it's like Guardian or something, but then you just change your game plan and keep sticking it, right? So do a couple sticks, try and go wide, and then once you get them down into that 6 to 8 range, you try to do your big shot. Right, but I find it a lot easier for me to set up a 10 dominate than I do to set up a 15 dominate, right? So, and then meanwhile, what am I sacrificing to get there? I don't have great armor as it is. So what do you have to do? Oh, and I still think cross wrap's the right play with Azalea. So I just don't see it getting multiple in your arsenal anyway. But with the reload, but reload doesn't work. Right, but you could potentially reload in. No. You get it, right? Your bow, right? So, anyway, that should do it to me. So, yeah, nice beer chat. Like I said, I have a lot of other projects in flight for this weekend, a couple other videos and stuff, and I just thought it'd be fun to sit this down, hammer it out on Friday afternoon, and go from there. So, anyway, I hope your guys' week was great. For those of you whose work week does end on Friday, I hope you had a great week, and I hope you're going to have a great weekend for the rest of you. I still hope things are great. Let me know what you think in the comments. So now, by the way, if you are looking for singles, don't forget my buddy over at Fab Foundry, Travis. He's a really good guy. He's got all the stuff up. I ordered some shiny foils from there. I kind of splurged. I got Wreath Glide Path, actually. I picked up 3 of those foilies, as well as In the Swing, which is another really great looking foil. So I picked those up from him just the other day. Gotta get those picked up and on the way. But anyway, he's a really, really great asset. LGS. He's got some other stuff coming up too. So anyway, folks, thank you so much for joining. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Like I said, it's just a musing cast, so let's have the conversation, get the conversation going. So anyway, folks, that'll do it. And go. You know what? That was a bad intro. Let's try it again. You know what, folks? Thanks for checking in. If nothing else, go Commando.